The courtroom had been quiet all morning. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, the heavy kind, the kind that sits in the air when everyone thinks the outcome is already decided. A man sat at the defense table, hands folded, eyes low. He had listened to hours of testimony that all seemed to point in the same direction, toward him. The prosecutor stood confidently before the jury. "The evidence is clear," he said. "The witness saw the defendant leaving the building moments after the crime." Across the room, the witness sat upright on the stand, calm, certain. Every answer she had given sounded steady, precise, convincing. The jurors watched her closely, because certainty has power inside a courtroom, and right now, she sounded very certain. The prosecutor turned to the jury again. She recognized him immediately. He pointed toward the defense table. "The man sitting right there." A quiet murmur moved through the gallery. The witness didn't hesitate. She nodded. "That's him." The defendant didn't react, didn't interrupt, just stared at the table in front of him. Because sometimes, when the entire room believes something, speaking feels pointless. The prosecutor nodded with satisfaction. No further questions. He sat down. The courtroom grew still again. The judge looked toward the defense. "Counsel?" The defense lawyer stood slowly. No dramatic movement, no raised voice, just a calm step toward the witness stand. Before the questioning began, subscribe to the Unheard Witness, because sometimes the smallest question can reveal the biggest truth. The defense stopped a few feet from the witness stand. "Good afternoon." The witness nodded. "Good afternoon." His voice was quiet, respectful. "You've testified that you saw the person leaving the building." "Yes." "You're confident about what you saw?" "Yes." "Very confident?" The witness didn't hesitate. "Yes." The defense nodded slowly. The jurors leaned forward slightly, because confident witnesses often decide cases. The defense folded his hands. "You said this happened at night?" "Yes." "Around 10:15 p.m.? "Yes." "And you were walking your dog at the time?" "That's right." The defense glanced at his notes. "You were across the street from the building?" "Yes." "So you weren't standing right next to the entrance?" "No." The defense nodded. "But you still clearly saw the person leaving?" "Yes." "You saw his face?" "Yes." The defense paused. The witness remained calm, and because everything about her testimony sounded reasonable, the defense took one slow step closer. "You also told police you recognized him?" "Yes." "You had seen him before?" "Yes." The defense looked toward the defendant, then back at the witness. "Where had you seen him before?" The witness answered easily. "In the neighborhood." The defense nodded again. "So he was familiar?" "Yes." The prosecutor looked relaxed. Nothing unusual yet, just standard cross-examination. The defense spoke again. "You reported this to police the next morning?" "Yes." "And you identified the defendant from a photo lineup?" "Yes." The defense turned toward the jury. "And you were sure?" "Yes." The witness didn't blink, because she believed she was right. The defense returned his attention to her. One more question about that night." The courtroom was completely still now. "You said you were walking your dog?" "Yes." "What kind of dog?" The witness blinked. "A golden retriever." The defense nodded politely. "And what's your dog's name?" "Max." The defense smiled faintly. "Max must enjoy those evening walks." The witness nodded. "He does?" The defense looked down briefly, then asked something simple. "Was Max on a leash that night?" The witness paused. "Yes." The defense nodded again. "Standard leash?" "Yes." The defense walked a few steps across the courtroom, then turned back. Ms. Carter, do you remember telling police that Max ran across the street during that walk? The witness hesitated. Yes. The defense raised an eyebrow slightly. Do you remember why? The witness shifted. I think he saw something. The defense tilted his head. Something? Yes. What did he see? The witness swallowed. I don't know. The defense picked up a document from the table. This is your original police statement. The paper rustled softly in the quiet courtroom. You wrote that Max chased a squirrel across the street. The witness nodded slowly. Yes. The defense looked up. So Max ran into the street? Yes. And you followed him? Yes. The defense's voice stayed calm. How long did that take? The witness frowned slightly. I'm not sure. 10 seconds? Maybe. 20? Possibly. The defense nodded thoughtfully. So during that time, you were focused on catching your dog? Yes. The defense let the silence sit for a moment. Then he asked the question that sounded almost casual. So when exactly did you see the man leaving the building? The witness hesitated. The first real pause. When I looked up. The defense nodded. After chasing your dog? Yes. The defense leaned slightly closer. And where was Max at that moment? The witness blinked. He was beside me. The defense held up the police statement. According to this, Max was still across the street. The room shifted. The witness looked confused. I might have remembered it differently. The defense nodded. That happens. He turned another page. In fact, the officer wrote something interesting here. The prosecutor straightened slightly. The defense read aloud. Witness stated she did not see the suspect's face clearly due to distance. The courtroom murmured. The witness looked startled. I never said that. The defense held up the report. This is your signature. The witness's eyes moved to the bottom of the page. It was her signature. The defense spoke gently. You signed this the night you spoke to police. The witness's voice wavered. I must have meant something else. The defense nodded slowly. Perhaps. He walked toward the evidence screen, pressed a button. A photograph appeared. A wide street view. The building entrance on one side. A sidewalk across the road. The defense pointed. This is where you said you were standing. The witness nodded. Yes. And this is the building entrance. Yes. The defense zoomed the image. The distance became clear. Nearly 40 yards. The jurors leaned forward. Because from that distance, details fade. Faces blur. The defense turned back toward the witness. You said you recognized the defendant's face. Yes. From 40 yards away. Yes. At night. The witness swallowed. Yes. The defense nodded slowly. Then he asked one final question, the simplest question of the entire trial. Ms. Carter, do you wear glasses? The courtroom froze. The witness blinked. Yes. The defense looked around the room. But you're not wearing them today. The witness shifted nervously. I wear contacts. The defense nodded politely. Did you wear contacts that night? The witness didn't answer immediately. The pause stretched. The defense repeated the question softly. Did you wear contacts that night? The witness looked toward the prosecutor, then back at the defense. No. The courtroom fell silent. The defense spoke carefully. So, without glasses or contacts. He gestured toward the photograph. You identified someone's face from 40 yards away. The witness's breathing changed. I thought it was him. The defense nodded. But you didn't actually see his face clearly. The witness's voice shrank. No. The defense turned toward the jury, and suddenly, the confident story from earlier that morning didn't sound so certain anymore, because sometimes it doesn't take a long speech. Sometimes it only takes one simple question, and the entire story falls apart.